I've always imagined there's more to this life. I've always been eager to taste and feel and touch and grow. And I don't mind failing as much as being stuck. Imagination is a manifestation of our memory, which enables us to scrutinize our past and construct hypothetical scenarios that do not yet but could exist. I ran away from home when I was 5 years old. My best friend and I filled a kitchen towel with honey puffs and tied it around a long stick like we'd seen some stray character do in a comic strip. We were very determined about the matter, and I remember leaving my home with the sense of pride that I was finally doing something big all on my own, or at least without any grown-ups. We had been talking about it for some time and agreed that we were both done with our families, chores and expectations, and ready to move on. We walked for only a few minutes before I asked to have a little snack break. My friend agreed, but only allowed for 1 honey puff each. "We have to ration from now on," my friend explained in a serious voice. Not too long after, we reached our kindergarten. It was closed, and so we opened the gate into the playground and went up into this little tree house with a roof. It had 2 small benches on either side, and we lay down and contemplated the rest of our lives on the run. Shortly after, my sister and a neighborhood kid came down to tell us dinner was ready. We were both shocked by the casualness of it all, and I think I tried explaining to my sister that we had run away from home and wouldn't be back for dinner. I'm fairly sure my sister said something about how that would make my mom upset because whatever she was cooking was almost ready, and it must have been something I really liked. I caved in and said, "All right, we'll come home for dinner." Defeated and hungry, we returned home without ever revealing we had planned a great escape. I remember playing with the dollhouse in my kindergarten. I remember moving the doll around with my hands, skipping from the living room to the kitchen and from the kitchen to the bedroom and under the covers. I remember this distinct feeling of seeing myself from outside the windows of my kindergarten, envisioning these giant hairy troll arms and hands playing with my body as their doll, as if the house I was in, this world I was living in, was all part of their imaginary world. I imagined my body lifted up and down to pretend like I was walking, and I remember sincerely staring up at the sky or into the dark woods to see if I could see them. I remember closing my eyes and imagining my body existing merely as a blob of matter, floating in nothingness, and questioning how I could know that I was real or that my experiences belonged to the physical world. What if it was all part of my imagination, that I was some kind of immaterial consciousness, and that these walls, clothes, smells, feelings, textures, and my dog, family, friends, and the whole world I was living in was all happening inside of my head, that the sense of mine or self was part of that same fictional narrative. I would pick up a flower, smell it, and question how I could know it was real just because I could smell and feel it between my fingers. What if it was all a fantasy? Why do kids love playing pretend house so much? Someone would always play the dad and someone the mom, and the rest would be kids or pets, and then we would all pretend to live our everyday lives together. We'd put a pretend tablecloth on our pretend table and serve dinner for the whole family. Sometimes we would go on family trips, but most often we just stayed in our pretend house and did our pretend chores. I would get entangled in these imaginary worlds with imaginary lives and homes and jugs of sweet and tart drinks and bowls of endless candy. I wasn't allowed Barbie dolls growing up, but I remember fantasizing about living in a Barbie doll house with a Barbie horse and a pink Barbie car that I could drive around in my little Barbie town. I remember having recurring experiences of being outside of my body, looking into my own life from above. I would be the only human girl in a world of inanimate beings, and my life would consist of make-believe routines and pretend conversations. I used to be terrified of being alone because I was convinced I never was, that there was someone watching me from the darkest corners of whatever room I was in, or standing right outside the door, or looking in through the windows. So many times I had to sleep with the light on, because it was the only way I could stop imagining this character gazing over me. I was afraid of giving in to it. I was once asked if I tried to befriend them. This was a new thought to me, and I had to think about it for a while. How could I befriend the most vile being imaginable? The character of my recurring nightmares of years with no end. My fear was so deeply rooted, it wasn't ever my grown, awake self seeing them, but my younger self, my child self who didn't know better. As a kid, I really didn't know if there was someone out there, or if I was just imagining it. I was terrified of God or any godlike consciousness too. I was terrified by the thought of someone keeping a close eye on me, and that I was never truly alone. I never managed to convince myself they had good intentions. And I never truly befriended them, but at some point they let go, or I let go of them. I wasn't afraid of the dark anymore. But if I think about it too hard, or when I'm riding a dark wave, they reappear. It's like they somehow manage to always stay out of my sight. But I know they're there, and they know I know. In my teenage bedroom, I would envision these big hairy hands sticking in through my windows and reaching for me blindly. If I lay completely still in my bed, they wouldn't find me peeking through the windows or in through the crack under my door. I had to make sure my curtains were drawn, and I didn't dare make a sound, hardly daring to breathe under my duvet. I've always been able to see myself from the outside, to escape my body and become my own observer. Oftentimes unpleasant, other times with a sense of alleviation, allowing me to become emancipated from the tangible realm. What I and my younger self still have in common is that we both know there's something more to life than this. Whatever we can see and sense and feel in this moment is merely a fragment of everything else. I want so much more. I want to look behind the stage curtains at the bottom of the ocean and behind the stars we see at night. I'm learning to hold myself again and again and again, but I also know that we need each other. I want to erase the idea that productivity equals worth, that everything's a competition, that worth is a currency given at birth, or that this is all determined. I want to tell stories around the fireplace and cook big hearty feasts for those I love and hold close. I want to plant salads and dig up the soil and get my fingers dirty. I want to climb mountains again. I want to smell the salty mist by the ocean and feel the warm sand between my fingers and toes. I want to hollow out that aching hurt in my chest, insert the hook and rise up from the strength of my ribs, lifted from the inside. Moving my body freely, I want to bite into the bizarre and dare to dip my toes into dark waters. I'll howl at the moon and dance in the reflections of the sun until my skin exfoliates and I can scrub these calluses soft again. My cold sweat will evaporate and I'll prevail all pink and squishy. I know now that this body is the most permanent home I'll ever have. If I can befriend these demons, the world is at my feet. I want to color the world red, yellow, green, and I want to turn on all the lights at the same time. I want to come home to a garden of fairy lights and fruit trees and blossoms, full of naked bodies welcoming me back where I know I belong. A luminous puddle in the darkness, doing what we want and giving what we can, wet kisses and coconut milk running down my neck. Latex gloves and belly laughs, circles holding hands and fantasies fulfilled. What are we without the sense of belonging, passion, lust? If I close my eyes, I'm there already. I can leave my body and return again and again and again. I am right here and everywhere. Long wooden tables, white tablecloth, pitchers of juice, trays of grapes and chocolate, bowls of condoms. We've finally escaped adulthood and we can play for as long as we like. I'm here. There's more to this life. I want to live. I want to live. There's more to this life.